The doctor told Lisa, quoting the FBI, Foster's depression must have been acute. The doctor, here's what he told the FBI. I didn't think that Vince Foster was significantly depressed, nor had Foster given the impression he was in crisis. From what Foster told the doctor, Foster's condition sounded mild and situational. He advised that he did not even ask Foster if he thought about suicide or was having any suicidal ideation because the symptoms that Foster was describing were not severe enough to cause the doctor to think that he might be in that state. Well, did Lisa lie, the FBI lie, or did the doctor lie? One of them ain't telling the truth, or just made a misstatement, or said something that was not operative. Next one. Okay, this is okay, I get excited about this, I'm sorry. This is the handwritten FBI interview notes of the lead Park Police investigator at the body site. You remember one of the big issues we've been talking about tonight is that gosh darn gun was so hard to see. Remember the first cop said, well, it's probably there, but I couldn't see it. And of course you saw in the photo of the black gun, didn't look that hard to see to you, did it? Okay, now, I think what's going on here is the FBI guys interviewing this Park Police investigator. This is during the Fisk inquiry, and they're telling the investigator, in effect, okay, give us a little help here. You know, help us paper this over, maybe. And this appears nowhere else in the whole record. We got this only because we sued under FOIA and were successful. This was never meant to see the light of day. For that matter, the 302s, the typed reports, they're confidential. They typically do not become public. They became public through a bizarre process that I won't describe. And then we got the handwritten notes we did get by suing under FOIA. So, the gun. Why was the gun so hard to see? Help us out, Mr. Park Police Investigator. He says, extensive vegetation, branch across the body. First time we've heard about this branch across the body. You didn't see that branch in that photo, did you? Next one. This is the bizarre, this is what Lee does, except this is the equivalent of a policeman trying to pull a Lee here. In his opinion, meaning the branch was severed by shot with branch falling over him. Here's what the investigator is trying to sell the FBI for why the gun is so hard to say. He says, well, Vince was sitting down, he put the gun in his mouth, he shot, blew out the back of his head. The bullet went flying out the back of the head. That's a bullet they've never been able to find. It happened to sever a branch up here behind his head. The branch then hopped forward, landing across the center of his torso, obscuring the gun. Well, a little thin. And the bureau guys, to their credit, said, we can't put this in the damn report. So they didn't. But that's the kind of stuff that's going on. They're making it up as they go. Okay, let's go to the next one. We're almost done on time here. Oh yeah, this is a great one. Remember the old road on the western border of the park that I said was a really great covert way to bring the body into the park? A nice lady, teenage girl actually, a daughter of a media executive, was at Fort Marcy Park. She lived in the subdivision right next door. She was cutting through the park. This is one day before Foster was found dead. It's about 3 p.m. She sees an unusual man, hot July afternoon, dressed in a suit in the park. And there was some concern, like, was it Vince? Was he checking out the suicide spot? But the description she gave was good enough to where it was clearly wasn't Vince. And as soon as she saw him, he looked away. Now here's what the FBI wrote up. This is the typed report after they did their interview notes with her. She saw this guy where? Northeast portion of Fort Marcy Park. Just so you know, it wasn't a casual typo. They also refer again to the location, northeast section of the park. Almost done. I'll stop after this one. Let's go to the handwritten notes. Location where she saw the guy. Forget northeast portion, sports fans. She saw the guy by the cabin, by the tennis courts, western border of Fort Marcy Park on path. The path refers to the old road. Put the next one up. I'll show you why this is important. Here's where she saw the guy. Here's the old cabin. The tennis courts are down here. She apparently came up and was on the old road here, somewhere in the vicinity of the old cabin. This is the covert road I mentioned. And she saw a guy. I think it's not that much of a stretch to say this guy was there 24 hours before the body hit the park. more or less. He was running a reconnaissance 24 hours ahead to say, hey, this old road is supposed to be covert, this old road is supposed to be empty, this part of the park is supposed to be empty. Now this whole Fort Marcy Park is basically a rectangle that runs northwest, southeast. This is the western, this is what the handwritten notes say. That's the northeastern side of the park. It's a big undefined area because the park runs this direction. They lied. They even lied in the 302s, even though they knew the 302s probably wouldn't become public. They would get used in the investigation. Somebody in the beginning lied. They moved where she saw this person. They moved him from where other evidence indicates possibly the body was brought into the park. Why? Why did they move it? What's the purpose? It wasn't a casual mistake. This has been papered up from the beginning, and what makes this case so fantastic is because of a bunch of administrative screw-ups by Mr. Fisk, a lot of this stuff became public. It's never supposed to see the light of day. Do the next one just in case. I think I'm done. Oh, just real quick. This is the handwritten interview notes here talking about what one of the investigators saw, and the bottom line point is the type notes say the body was lying approximately 15 to 20 feet in front of the second cannon, quote unquote, in the center of a sloped path. If you read this up here, this is the equivalent part of the handwritten. There's no mention of a second cannon. There's no mention of path. They wanted him to be found on the path by the second cannon. So the Bureau guys typed it in. She didn't tell them that. Anyway, I've got another 20 hours, but I'm done, and maybe we can take some questions.